But today was bad. Light work, people. Light work. Seems we're soft all over the pitch. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another show on Grizz Khan TV, where tonight we discuss the Italian job, the original Italian job, and basically I thought very, very, very good win away at Inter Milan. And with me tonight to discuss all events, I've got Conroy. Conroy, how are you, pal? Avi in the background saying that you didn't look too happy. Is there any reason that you didn't look too happy, or are you just naturally like that, like to hold it in?
No, I think I'm a smiley character, but just genuinely, I'm pretty happy with the result tonight. To be honest, it's just I don't think I've got. I was going to say that bad word phase. Is it what resting bitch face? I don't think I've got that. I don't think I've got that like unhappy face.
The what face?
Well, I don't know. That might be the wrong thing.
You've started off with the wrong thing.
Face like a.
This is what I mean when we always start off.
A dog's arse. That's what they say in Scotland.
Okay.
Face, so.
Face like a dog's arse. But we'll get better. We'll get into it, and hopefully you'll be smiling.
I'm happy with the result. I'm in a good mood.
Hopefully Mick and Errol praise Robertson's performance today, and then that will absolutely automatically.
I'm banned from doing that. Me and Mick are on great terms because I'm basically not allowed to speak about Robertson on these streams anymore. So
amazing. And also I've got Errol with me. Errol, how are we, pal?
Bro, I'm happy, I am. I was a little bit nervous for about 65 minutes. They came out the blocks early that second half, so it did have me a little bit pent back. But you know what? We got the job done. We wrapped it up. The clash of the Titans. We just get them back to our place to strangle them.
Absolutely. Mick, how you been? Good week? Everything all right? Not a bad week for the Reds, so should be a good week for Mick Moran as well.
Yeah, been looking forward to this one all week, I think. Happy, I think.
You're talking about the show, right? Not the game.
Yeah.
I know you are.
Life in general when Liverpool win a match, it just obviously makes me happy. But yeah, good win. I think it was sometimes a bit difficult. I know we'll drill into it in a bit more detail, but to get a 2-0 win in the manner that we did and against a really good side, you can't complain. Like Errol said, get them back to our place and slap them up.
Guys, do you know, just before we were about to go live, and I said to both of you, Errol, you said we've got Conroy on the controls today. And what was my response to that?
He's the only one you trust.
And do you know the irony of it? Look at the scoreline he's put up.
I've only just clocked.
I have as well.
And he's frozen. So let's get that changed. He's probably in the background sorting it out now.
On the ones and twos now, changing it.
I mean, you can't make this shit up.
You can't write that shit.
I literally said to them, Conroy's the only one I trust, out of the red fellas. Thank you, Conroy. You're an absolute. This is why you had a face like a dog's bum or whatever.
Testing the viewers to see you still awake.
Hey, listen, our viewers are straight away. They clock that straight away. Any defense, any mitigating circumstances why that happened, Conroy? Anything in your defense?
I don't know. Maybe my cat pulled the Ethernet cable out, possibly. I don't know. Avi's maybe trying to just do that on purpose just to get one over on me.
Oh, it was actually Avi who fucking done that in the background, he's saying.
Because I cut out for a second there, so I don't know what
happened. Conroy, we're talking about the scoreline was originally it was Inter Milan 2 and Liverpool 0, and we thought you done the banner.
Oh no, right, that was Avi.
So we've just slaughtered you for the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I'd probably deserve it anyway for something else I've said, so it's fine.
Yeah, fair enough. But listen, guys, last 16 Champions League nights are back. The knockout stages, we saw a very close battle between Real Madrid and PSG last night, and then we saw that fucking walk in the park for City when they get the Division 3 team. How can you get a fucking Division 3 team in the Champions League? Like, make that make sense. How can you draw? Anyway, but the less said of them better. We went in today's game, and I felt, Conroy, I'll start with you. I felt before the game just a sense around the Liverpool fan base of confidence, bordering arrogance, bordering sort of, I don't know, bordering whatever. How did you feel going into this tie with Inter Milan?
People were talking about AC Milan, referring to that tie, and I felt like that was going to be further from the truth. I thought AC Milan's tactics were bordering moronic against us in that game, giving us so much space in the middle of the park was baffling, to be honest. So I never felt that Inzaghi's or Inter Milan, who kind of reminisce Conte, were going to do the same at all, and that was proved to be absolutely correct. So I did think it would be similar to how it went. I do think, however, I thought we would be better decision making in the final third. I thought we'll get into the match, but I thought first half that was a lot to be desired. For decision making was very poor. But to be fair, I probably kind of like Errol. I thought we would have got the win just a little bit earlier and been a little bit more comfortable. What I would say though, just to give Inter Milan a little shout out, I was actually impressed with a few of their players as well. To be honest, some who I didn't think they would were as good. Done quite well. I think, to be honest, the way today's game went, I think a lot of Liverpool fans said, who were talking about Inter, were talking about Varela and thinking that's a big miss. And I think ultimately you could see that, especially when we'll talk about it later on. So I thought we would get the win, Grizz. I thought it would have been slightly more comfortable than that. But at the end of the day, away in the last 16 to get a 2-0 win, delighted. But before going into the match, I thought it would have been slightly more comfortable than that.
Errol, similar feelings going into the game. Was you swept away with the confidence around the fan base, and almost some talking about finishing the tie and killing the tie and winning by minimum 2-3 goals? Or was this won't be a walk in the park? They are a better team. I know AC Milan beat them last week, but I watched the game and it was a proper proper, like what do you call it? A job, like when you don't deserve something. Like it's one of those jobs.
Snatch. What is it?
Snatch and grab.
Snatch and grab. Like, why did we
it.
struggle over such a simple fucking, saying like all of us struggle, like all of you are out of it. Like
it's not our forte, Grizz. It's not our forte phrases.
I thought Mick might come in. I thought Mick might come in to help us with the right terminology, right? But smash and grab. So they're far better than AC Milan. So was you like, this is going to be tough, we're going to have to grind this one out? Or did you think we go there and we put our foot on their neck, we play our game, and this could be over in the first tie? And honestly, be honest.
I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. I thought we was gonna be comfortable in this game, and you kind of got to give a lot of credit to Inter Milan in a lot of respects, because they've waited a long time. It's been something like 10 years since they've got to this stage in the Champions League. So their lads would have been absolutely bang up for it, and I think they was for a large part of the game. They was competitive all over the pitch. They wanted to battle for every second ball. They didn't really want to didn't want to be forced into making any mistakes. He was confident playing out from the back. They kind of had their system and style that they was committed to. So you've got to commend them for that. I think when they turned it up a little bit and put us under the cosh, I did get a little bit worried. But I think defensively, Klopp I played a masterstroke tonight, putting in Canate to just say, right, Dzeko and the other lad, Lautaro Martinez, like, go do your best. Let's see what you can do up against our two lads, because they're going to outrun you, they're going to outpace you, they're going to outwin all the headers, and they are going to literally bounce you off the ball anytime you get close to them. So my genuine gut feeling going in was, I said a 3-0 win. I wasn't too far off, but I think the 3-0 win in my head would have been a performance that would have been a lot more
fluent.
Fluid. Yeah. Firing on all cylinders, 3-0, as opposed to a very conservative but very professional 2-0 European away performance.
Yeah, Mick, Errol talks about sort of one of the selection dilemmas that Klopp had going into this game. And if anyone watched the pre-match show last night, they will know that I absolutely nailed the selection. But anyway, that's a different story. Mick, the team comes out, and the standout selection, the one that caught everyone's attention, as it would naturally, is the young kid. The young kid gets selected. Jurgen Klopp has a full set of midfielders at his disposal, but just shows you what he thinks of this kid. How did you feel, and how did you see his game going before the game started, and how did in terms of when you saw his selection?
Yeah, I think I predicted that lineup as well. I think after the last game, I thought obviously Hendo got a bit of a knock, didn't he? So I kind of did expect Elliott to come in. Thiago has obviously done well recently. Probably wasn't his best game tonight, but he was also a shoe-in as well. Obviously, Fabinho just that makes that 3 as good as it could be. But obviously, I think as like Errol said, as the game progressed a little bit, I was a bit worried because it's seeming like we wasn't getting a grip on the game like I thought it would be going. I thought it would be a lot more comfortable, but a lot of their lads are very experienced, very athletic, good on the ball, tight spaces. They can get out of it dead easy, and little 1-2s round the corner triangles. They were doing it for fun at times, so it was difficult for them for Javier today. Obviously, got 60 minutes, which is invaluable experience for Champions League debut. So he's got a nice little 60 minutes in it under his belt there. That'll do him the world of good going forward. But I thought, on paper, I thought that was what the team would go with. So the fact that we did was, the subs that we make, I think, are warranted as well. I think when you've got Fabinho coming off a Hendo, and I think we're going to get onto the Hendo debate, but I think he had a little mini point to prove after recent performances, and I think he's done a long way to do that tonight.
Yeah, Conway, Harvey Elliott was without doubt the standout selection in terms of surprise, maybe from some, but some absolutely knowing that Klopp loves this kid so much and has so much faith in him. The other 2 selections, Errol's touched upon Konate. The one I want to speak to you about was up front. He went with Jota, Salah, and Mane. Was you okay with that? It's just difficult not to be okay with that. But how was you feeling in terms of how they link up? Because there is, I guess we will go into the game and that, especially that first half, but there is this accusation that it's not as fluid when them 3 play, as opposed to when Bobby is the link between them. Did you have any fears on that? I know you're a massive Jota fan.
I think Jota's going to start 100%, and I know that Firmino point, fair enough, but I still think Jota's proved he's pointed to be a passable Firmino this season, to have the strength to link with Mane and Salah, but also provides a bit different strengths, ways like, his finishing ability and his movement. But what I would say was, not surprised. I thought that would be the front 3, and you can maybe argue you're going to play Mane because instead of a Diaz, for example, because he's kind of European away tie, defensively kind of knows the rhythm with Robertson on that side. You could have had Jota on that side as well if you wanted. For me, I've got to be honest, hindsight's a great thing. But I don't know if you guys agree, but there's a certain point about the 60th minute, my 55th minute, when I felt like I can see both our wingers have played at the AFCON and played a lot of football, because they look tired to me. Now, that might have just been me overthinking it, but that was the only reason that in hindsight you maybe think, well, maybe he could have started Diaz tonight. But then, however, when Diaz comes on, Inter are tired. So, it's easy to say things like that. So I feel like I was happy with the lineup. I would say going forward, it might be a bit more of a variety to let Mane and Salah get back to 100%. But yeah, still happy with that lineup.
Errol, the game starts off as a real competitive last 16 games should. As you touched upon, it's their first game. When I say first game, first knockout game for 10 years in the Champions League. They fucking waited for this for so many years. We can say what we want. Their Inter Milan is a huge club. Big, powerful team. Not the most mobile and quick over the ground, but massively experienced throughout that team. Edin Dzeko at the back, at the front, with the 3 centre backs. Bastoni we touched upon last night, and obviously that snarling pitbull of a Vidal in midfield. Did the first half kind of pan out how you thought it's going to pan out? And sort of, I found we were not in much danger, but not in much control. That's how I viewed that first half. How did you first half an hour, I should say?
It was a bit like a chess match for me. It was very calculated. I think what I noticed was we didn't overcommit our fullbacks. Now, as Liverpool, as our team sets up, we know how much we play with our fullbacks anyway, getting them as high up the opposition's half of the pitch as possible, trying to get deliveries into the box, whether that's Robertson at the byline or that's Trent just coming from a little bit deeper and he'll whip them in. And we didn't really do that. I didn't see much of Trent. I know Robbo tried to get down his left-hand side, but I don't think he managed to get the ball in the directions or to the players that he actually wanted to. I think he struggled a little bit in that first half, and I think that was just a common theme for our fullbacks, really. But what I would say was they played like traditional left-backs and right-backs tonight, which to me was refreshing for all those arguments that say they can't do that. They've come up against, Serie A league winners from last season that are very capable and very dangerous on the counter. Their outball was always Perisic on their left-hand side. And the fact that I don't think Trent did a number on him, I don't think he pocketed him, but he didn't let him get the better of him, and he was always willing to stick with him, and he didn't get exposed too much either. So it was more of a traditional right side and left side defensively from our guys. I think defensively, in terms of the two centre-backs, I thought they was absolutely brilliant from start to finish, from the first whistle right up to the 90th minute whistle. They was spot on tonight for us. That midfield foundation probably didn't work as well as I would have liked, but I think it took us a little bit of time to figure that out, that we're not actually getting much control of this ball. We're not actually getting, it's not sticking from that midfield transition up into the front lads. We're not holding onto the ball enough to bring other players into play. As you mentioned there, does Jota really do that as well as Bobby does? He probably doesn't do it in the same style as Bobby. I thought he's a better ball carrier in a straight line, but in terms of getting the ball, drawing people in, knocking the ball around, it's probably not as suited to him in the same way that it is to Bobby. So I think it was a very tactical chess match to begin with, but I think by the time we got to the end of the first half, I think the real eye-opener for me was how they came out in that second half. That's when I started to panic. I thought, even though there wasn't much control, I wasn't really shook at what Inter threw at us. Don't get me wrong, they rattled the bar in the first 20 minutes. Absolutely rattled the bar. And if that goes on the underside of the bar and bounces back on the line and goes in, it could have been a completely different game, but we got the rub of the green in that respect. So I think that was probably the only one that kind of scared me. And I think then Mane has the best chance of the first half, and he kind of just, he doesn't get the placement on his header.
Yeah. So he's right, isn't he, Mick? I found the fullbacks were a bit subdued, but I thought there's times to praise the opposition sometimes as well. And I thought the way that they employed their wingbacks was very brave. We often discuss Italian teams and we're always saying, they're very defensive. They're very, they're not gung-ho like sort of Premier League teams and whatever. But I thought they were very brave, weren't they, Mick, in the way they employed Perisic and Dumfries. Like literally they were playing as out-and-out wingers every time. And the three centre-backs were quite split. Like Bastoni at times was like a left back and Skriniar was like a right back. You could see they weren't as comfortable on the ball, but they were brave and they still tried. We nearly caught them a couple of times, but I think it was fine for our fullbacks to sit back and just assess what they can do if they can hurt us. I think it might have been a tactical ploy by Jurgen Klopp just to sort of play within themselves. Did you feel that, or did you think it was just the way Inter pressed us back?
Yeah, I agree. I think Dumfries, and I think there's a couple of people in the chat saying like Dumfries and Perisic did do really well tonight. Like the pace of both of them, like Perisic 2-footed, he is a beast. He is a beast. Like he's gonna give most right backs and win football.
33 as well, Mick. He's 33.
Yeah, I know.
That was very impressive.
Yeah, for a guy of that age, and yeah, I think he'd give a torrid time to most fullbacks in world football, to be honest, because you don't know where he's going to go. He's strong, he's tall, he's got a shot on him, he's got a pass. So, I mean, I think there was a couple of times Trent maybe didn't track back enough when we needed them to. I think
Virgil let him know
once. Virgil let him know once. I think Hendo let him know towards the end of the second half as well, where he doesn't close it down quick enough. But I suppose they're just little isolating moments, and I suppose overall, I think we did do well. I think, like Errol said, like Mane, a player of the calibre of Sadio Mane needs to score that header. I think it was like 14 odd minutes. If that goes in, we've got the foundation there to then maybe go and get another one early in the first half.
At least get it on target, innit? Like get it on target.
Yeah, exactly.
Work, man.
Yeah, and because especially after we missed that, I think it was like a minute later they go down. Like you said, Errol, they rattle the Crosby, and I think that gives them a bit of hope and I think that was provided a bit of a catalyst for them to go, right, we can get at these. And I think that's why, like you said, it became a bit more of a chess game. And I think that first half was a bit of a mad one. I think like about a couple of minutes after they hit the bar, like we were playing around with it. Alisson tries to skim a ball over to Kanate, and it just looked like we were all a bit lost at the back for a period there. But we did regain a bit of composure that first half, and I think Van Dijk again was terrific. I think there was the moment where Dzeko was kind of through and he just barges him out the way. I think there's another moment where Martinez is like one-on-one with him and goes, shall I run? Nah, I'll swerve it. He's too fast. And it kind of like any other player, any other defender, he would have knocked it past him and maybe gave that a go, but he knew he didn't have a chance. But yeah, first half.
In his head. He's in his head already.
Mick, any other, Dzeko and that Lautaro Martinez, any other centre-back in Serie A are what they're used to. Dzeko definitely, because Dzeko's touch is immaculate.
Yeah.
Like he pulls it out on the half volley and he's taking it on the run, and he's a big, strong, powerful fucker. Obviously, he hasn't got the legs to sort of get away from Virgil van Dijk, but most centre-backs, he would have got a shot off a target at least. And the way Virgil just steps into the picture, it's just poetry in motion. He just sort of comes into the picture and just, it's like everything else is slow motion. Like, sorry, it feels like slow motion, but he's so graceful in his movements and just sort of takes the ball away from him as if nothing's happened, guides it back to Alisson. But I agree with you, Mick, in terms of there was a bit of overplaying confidence from both teams at the back. And Conroy, the one area where we didn't show confidence in terms of the control, I thought, in that first half was the midfield. I will let Errol take the forwards, but I want you to discuss the midfield. Hindsight and all that, or are you of the opinion, nope, Klopp's picked Elliott, brilliant experience for him, and he will learn from that first half? Because I thought, but I thought not only Elliott, I thought Thiago wasn't at his best as well in terms of demanding it and trying to take control. I thought midfield was, I don't know what the word is,
it lacked a bit of composure at times.
Composure, yeah. Like how we normally rotate, circulate. We didn't see that. And I tweeted it as such at halftime, but it was obviously a total different second half. Did you attach any blame to him? But we can't, because Klopp says, nope, the blame comes to me.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know what's such a weird first half, before I go on to this, Mick had said as well, is at times both teams were like that, because we got in a few times at the edge of their box and our decision making was awful in the final third to play right pass. At times it felt like we're trying to walk it in. I think Elliott gets in the way of Jota when they should just have a shot. And I just wanted to add, I felt like both teams at times there was a lack of control in that first half. It was weird. And fair play to Inter. Inter would at times not as high press as us, but they would pick their moments, they would keep their shape and press, and at times that did cause us issues as well. But on the midfield, do you know what? It's like, it's not like, say, I told you so or anything like that, but like I have said, like I said to Mick last week, Elliott's unbelievable, but he's a young player and young players are going to be inconsistent. And even tonight, you could say it's a big experience and he just couldn't get really, I wouldn't say he could really get going. It's not having a go at him for it. Klopp's gave him that opportunity. It will be a great experience for him. I also think it's good to know that there is, for him to be, starting every game, as some people after 5 games are saying he has to do that, he has to develop and learn different opponents and different stages to play on and how he has to perform. So that's great for him. We'll speak of when Henderson came on and Keita comes on. It shows as well that having experience in football, like you have to mention that as well. Of course it is. And I think that'll be good as well, that for all the fans, there'll be a bit of perspective now when we're talking about the opponents in different games. It's not just right, fire Elliott in. But as I say, I think the experience will be invaluable. And there's no point having a go. The kid is 18 and he's literally played games where you'd think he's been playing there for 3 years in the Liverpool team. But tonight, great experience, and we'll learn for it. But I would say it's not just on Elliott. I did feel at times just the midfield lacked composure. I just felt like we, in certain games this season, you could tell we've just dominated and had such control. Well, some games we haven't, but you know what I mean, especially with Thiago and Fabinho. But tonight, not as much in the first half.
What I found from a tactical point of view, Errol, was they set up sort of almost man for man in terms of in the central midfield areas. So what I found was that Pitbull, Vidal, would shadow Thiago. Like he literally shadowed him for the first 45 minutes. He's almost their James Milner now, where he doesn't play regularly, but he's used in terms of just to be shithouse, and he's shithoused all over Thiago, I found. And then I found there, who's supposed to be one of the more technical players in Hakan, the surname,
Çalhanoğlu.
Okay, that's easy for you to say. No problem. You carry on saying
He used to play for Wolfsburg. Did he play for Wolfsburg back in the day?
No, Hamburg.
Oh, it was a Hamburg, yeah, okay.
He
okay.
scores that goal against Dortmund that Klopp laughs for like 40 yards.
From 70 yards, you know that one?
Yeah, unbelievable. His set pieces are ridiculous, to be fair.
So what he done?
Yeah.
So what I found from a tactical point of view in that first half, which disrupted us, and we didn't really overcome it in that first half, was they left Brozovic to cover the central part, and then the two wide men in their midfield. Sorry, the two others in the central midfield area just shadowed Elliott and Thiago, and Hakan shadowed Elliott, doubled up on that left hand side and thing. But where I was disappointed as a result of that, Errol, was that's fine, no problem. If that's something different from the opposition, the three senior forwards, I thought, should have taken it upon themselves to maybe take turns to drop, pick up the ball, and gain that control and composure that the midfielders, for once, maybe couldn't. I found that slightly disappointing in the first half from our front three lads. Your thoughts?
I think the front three struggled for a large part of the game. I know 2 out of the 4 of them ended up getting on the score sheet for us tonight, but I don't think their in-game play was the best in general. And I don't know if that is, as Conroy was alluding to a little bit earlier, is it the amount of games that the wide forwards have played over the last couple of weeks, is it starting to catch up with them? Did they need that little bit of a rest? Was it that level of intensity? But I think they kind of wanted everything on a plate for them tonight, but it wasn't that kind of game. We had to earn every touch in their opposition box or in their half that we was going to get. And as good as or as talented as a Harvey Elliott is, the one area that I thought was lacking, and again, maybe that's where you'd expect a little, as you're saying there, that little bit of leadership from Salah, is that right-hand side was very young for me. You've got Salah up there doing his thing, but when he's not determined to track back and he's not determined to pick up the ball in deep spaces and then run with it or get kind of draw plays towards him, which frees up another player and then obviously frees up Trent on that right-hand side, it means that you're relying on pretty much 2 kids. And I still call Trent a kid because he's a lot younger than all of us.
He is, yeah.
He's a young man to do a job against, as we've already established, a 33-year-old Perisic who's very experienced. He's been around the block. He knows what he's doing. He's physical. He's still got a little bit of pace in his legs, and he's very good technically. I think I was just a little bit disappointed. I think you end up seeing Fabinho just being in a straight line from the left-hand side to the right-hand side. It was like, American football, where you're just stuck on that line and you're just literally just trying to catch the ball at any point, but you can't go forward or go back. I felt Fabinho was doing a lot of screening, but it all just seemed to be horizontal. He didn't really seem to get much forward momentum. But maybe that's obviously because he's then trying to cover. And I think there was a little bit of overcompensation from his part, but there wasn't really, for me, the way I seen it, there wasn't really that kind of cool, calm head on that right-hand side. Like, I think we've got so used to, even when Harvey played the other day in the Prem, we've got so used to how fluid that right-hand side looks. It moves like clockwork. The interplay between each other so well. When they're all singing off the same hymn sheet, it's fantastic. Like, it's such a strong asset for us going forward in play. But today, it just seemed like we were just down or to a level of where we've been in recent weeks for me.
And look, Mick, that's absolutely fine. It happens. You can't always be at your brilliant best. But what you got to show when you're not at your brilliant best is sort of the spine of your team to show. And I often talk about it. Conroy will know that you're not all about brilliant goals, slick moves, Jota, Salah, Mane, Thiago. We can fucking grit it out with the nastiest teams, and we're as nasty as you come when we're on it. And throughout that first half, at least, I didn't feel threatened. And one of the major reasons for that was we can start going into the performances of a couple of individuals, if you may. And I thought our 2 centre-backs were absolutely outstanding, Mick.
Yeah, they were. They really were. I think there was a few times where I think, like Errol said, like I think the fullbacks were trying to be a bit more reserved, but I think it's in the nature as well to get forward. So there was a few gaps opening up, and there's a few times where Konate's nice little sliding block, put it out for a corner. We've touched on the Van Dijk moments where he just ushers Dzeko out the way like he's a 6-year-old kid and just knocks him away. There's the bit Martinez where he does the same and just goes, "Go on, lad, try and run past me," and because you can't. I just thought it's commanding. I think think Matip played like 3 in a row before
Yeah.
tonight. So I think that's kind of where we're at with Matip. It's like we don't want to overexert Joel Matip, who is one of the best in the world and has been maybe better than Virgil for a large part of this season. That's how good Joel Matip's been. But I think Konate coming in there is more than an able deputy. He's a big fella. He's strong. He's fast. And I think when he plays on that right hand side, and we've got Trent in there, he does provide that cover that we need when Trent is maybe going forward a little bit too much. You've got the pace of Konate there to kind of bail us out a little bit in that regard. But yeah, I thought both lads were top class tonight, and to get a clean sheet. I mean, I know that the banner earlier was saying we got beat 2-0, but to keep a clean sheet,
ignore that.
To keep a clean sheet. In the manner that we did, it wasn't the best game, but the fact that we did it, I think you could see from the goals that we scored, the lads celebrating together, you could see how much it meant. And I think that first goal's in, it's a relief. The second goal goes in, we kind of know, right, we're sorted now. Let's go.
I think first half, halftime comes, Conroy, and I think it's pretty even. It's pretty exactly how I expected it. A tough European night away. Italy, they're the champions of Italy. They're not a joke. And then I personally expected possibly a change in midfield. But knowing Jurgen Klopp, I knew he's not going to just take off Elliott straight away. So it's kind of, feels or looks like he's blaming Elliott, or that performance in that first half is because of Elliott. It was not. As I said, Thiago was as culpable, and the front three lads were as culpable as Elliott. Was you surprised at sort of the lack of change? Because the only change, Bobby comes on, doesn't he? But now we found out.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, now from our brilliant chat, now we've just found out that Jurgen Klopp has alluded to the fact that Jota has done some damage to his ankle ligaments. Now, obviously, fill us in, people, because obviously we've jumped on straight away after the match, so we don't know what Jurgen Klopp's come out and said. But if that's the case, it's just fucking sod's law, isn't it? We just all week we've been gloating almost as a fan base about sort of no injuries, and then apparently Ox done his hamstring in the warm up or something, and
Jota's warm down apparently, Grizz.
Amazing, absolutely amazing.
I've never heard of that before, but that's just...
well, there you go. Well, you haven't got hamstrings like Ox, so that's why you probably
no, I know warm down though. But listen, I'm sure it's happened many times, but that's just our luck sometimes.
So it seems as though it wasn't tactical to bring on Bobby. It's obviously seems like it was forced, but it worked a treat, I thought. Suddenly our attack was seemingly more. There was more link-up play. Suddenly when Bobby arrives on that pitch.
Yeah, just before I say that, Grizz, just one of the comments is the chat are always great. They've said, apparently it's not ligaments, it's just a swollen ankle and will be assessed tomorrow.
Please.
So it might just be an impact injury.
There's a League Cup final.
Yeah.
With the most horrendous club out there. And
you want Jota, because Jota just loves that. He just loves
Jota
being
is
that
the
shit
key
house.
to that. But yeah, hopefully some good news about that. Sorry, Conroy, yeah.
No, that's fine. Just to give you an update on that. So regarding Bobby, right, this might be a bit unpopular, right? I've got to be honest.
Won't be the first time with you, Conroy.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's probably spot on, to be honest. But see, when Bobby came on, I don't think, if I'm right, I watched the game, I remember thinking, he's not played one pass. Like, he's gave the ball away like 5 times when he came on. Does that anyone? Is just me? No, that's not on his performance. I'm saying in the first 10 minutes, I think actually I would disagree. I would say the Hendo and Keita subs made a bigger difference within that period. Don't get me wrong, he was okay, but I just thought sometimes he just does stuff, doesn't he? He tries to do it, and instead of just playing that simple, try and cut it back in that person. And yeah, I don't think he started amazing, but obviously he finished amazing. So that's just my take on it. You guys might disagree.
Yeah, look, we've got another famous ex-Liverpool player in the chat. Shout out to Steve Nuckle.
Liverpool's second best fullback. That's brilliant.
He says, "Stop
Scottish fullback.
Stop interrupting, Grizz, please." Now, I don't know if he means Grizz, I stop interrupting, or you stop interrupting me.
Okay.
But I'm sure it's me interrupting the others. Okay. I'll try not to interrupt people on my own show.
On your own channel.
On my own channel, as the host, Steve. Great player, but awful pundit. So buzz off. Um, but Errol, Conroy's right. Pretty much, and I think we all agree. Bobby doesn't start off great, and maybe as a result, Inter for that first 15 minutes of that second half really make us work, which is fine. I love when this team suddenly has to work. And Virgil with that captain's armband, Errol, I thought put in for me. Now I know you've touched on Konate, and we can talk on Konate as well. But I just want to say that for me, that was Virgil van Dijk at his absolute imperious best. For that first 15, 20 minutes, we had to stick in there and weather the storm. And there's always a patch. When you're playing in the last 16 of a Champions League tie away from home, there's absolutely no shame as a team. There's no shame at all in being under the cosh for 15, 20 minutes of a game.
No, 100. And, I'll say two things, really. I agree with Conroy, really, in the respect that I think Bobby's never looked great coming off the bench. I think when you start Bobby Firmino, he can get all of those rusty touches out of the system in the first 15, 20 minutes. Sometimes he does hit the ground running and we go off to blow teams away. But he gets all those rusty things out of his system in the first 15, 20 minutes usually, feels his way into a game, and then you get more of a mature performance from him throughout the rest of the game if he starts and doesn't get substituted off after 65, 70 minutes. The fact that he had to do it in 45 minutes today, it was kind of the same. He always takes a second to warm up. His brain's thinking this is what I want to do, but sometimes he just doesn't get it right. But I agree with Conroy. When it mattered, he stepped up and he started to. I think, as you said, the other couple of subs made the difference, which kind of gave him the foundation to not have to. He was the one that you were saying before, Grizz. Will someone come and drop deep and get the ball? He wanted to do that. When the other two came on, in Keita and Hendo, he didn't have to do that as much. So all he then had to focus on was the link-up play. In terms of defence, that, for me, Konate's best game in a red shirt this season, like hands down, comfortably his best game for us. And we've not lost a game that he's played in this team so far. So long may that continue. But for me, and I'll say it now, that was Virgil van Dijk versus Bayern when we went on to win the Champions League. That was the level of the performance that he put in tonight. I remember him being absolutely quality in that game, and this is exactly the same sort of level and performance that he played for us tonight. I know he gets the goal in that game, but I think he's going to be credited for the assist, surely, for the second goal as well, and that was just as important. I think that second goal tonight was absolutely crucial for the kind of the complexion of how this tie is going to play out.
Yeah, I think it was a clinic in defending, in not only captaincy, because as Mick said earlier, I think I said it, and I don't know, one of us said it, and then one of us copied the other one who said it. Virgil van Dijk, did you see how many times he shouted at everyone around him? And you don't often see that with Virgil. He likes to just concentrate on his own game, casual, and let Hendo and Milner do the shouting. But he took it upon himself, because obviously Hendo wasn't on the pitch for the first hour, to play like not only to play like a captain, but for like a leader, like a captain. And when Virgil, it just makes everyone feel calm, and like we've got the big man really focused and on it, and we can't afford to piss him off, bro.
You don't want to piss him off.
Honestly,
you don't want him bollocking you in the changing rooms at half-time or at the full-time whistle. You want to get back on a plane with Virgil van Dijk staring through holes into the back of your head. You don't want that smoke. Do you know what I mean? So
this is
he commands respect from others, and he leads them into battle, and they follow. And that's what you need. We've got a number of lads there that are starched captains and leaders within our team. So if Hendo's on the bench, Virgil will be barking orders when he's on the pitch, and I think that's exactly what's needed in this squad. We don't do divas on this side of the 62.
That's true. That's true. Very, very true. Mick, our resident Inter Milan fan, shout out to Bashar in the chat, sends a super chat. Commiserations, obviously, but still brave enough and man enough to come into the chat. And he says, so disappointed and angry tonight, Grizz. But congrats to you guys. Our attack failed us tonight. The difference was the quality from the bench. And perfectly segues into what I want to touch upon, Mick. And you get the first chance to talk about this. 60th minute. We have the luxury these days of bringing on Luis Diaz, Jordan Henderson, Naby Keita. This was at a period where we said Inter Milan had given their, when they're like a heavyweight boxing match and the opponent knows that he's got to swing, in the last sort of half of the match and try to knock this guy out, because the longer it goes, the other opponent's stronger and fitter, and he's gonna get stronger and stronger and stronger as the game wears on. We stay strong on the storm that Inter try to come at us in that first 15 minutes, and then they see these three come off the bench. How does it make the opposition feel, and how does those three players feel when they're coming on with a point to prove? And that's so key, isn't it? All three had something to play for or point to prove, didn't they?
Yeah, I think the commentator on what I was watching anyway was just kept mentioning how loads of the Inter midfield were over 30. And I know there's a couple of them, but he kept saying like, "Oh, they're over 30." I was like, I didn't realise that because they did play so well, and they obviously, you can be 30 and you can still be a sensational footballer. I think there was a few, like Conroy said earlier, there was a few of those their lads that did do really well, but I think, like we said earlier, like Harvey Elliott doesn't really get in the game. I don't think it was definitely not Thiago's best game. Like you said, Vidal was fucking all over him.
All
like
over him like a fucking rash. It was disgusting, some of the shit he was doing to him and getting away with it.
Because Thiago kind of was just doing that little sexy roll he does with the studs, and then was about to play it, and Vidal would just be there every time. I was like, oh, fucking hell, just leave him alone. But I think it was the subs that we needed, like Naby coming on for Elliott. We said Klopp's not going to bring Elliott off at half time because that kind of sends more of a message than it should. Like he shouldn't be took off at half time unless it's an injury, really. Unless we're losing the game and we need an instant impact from the bench. I think Elliott at least deserved to play 60. But Naby coming on provided that energy, running everywhere on that right hand side. Hendo coming on for Fab, and I know how much we all love Fabinho, how important he is for this team. He's one of the most important players we've got. But I think Hendo had a little bit of a point to prove, because I think in recent games he's not been quite there, and I think will have pissed him off as well, as much as it maybe annoyed us in terms of as fans watching it and knowing that he can do better. And I think he's set those standards quite high in terms of getting on the ball, providing that energy, little 1-2s, balls in behind, which he hasn't been doing as much lately. But that he's got that high bar that he set for himself, and I think again tonight he had a point to prove. He came on from minute one, he was all over them. He was getting into tackles, little flicks around the corner, keeping us ticking over. And I think he kind of just took over from what, like we just talked about Virgil, shouting at everyone, making sure everyone's not dropping an inch against the really good Inter Milan side. I think Hendo just completely took over in terms of that captaincy transition back to himself, and I thought he was top quality in the half an hour he got tonight.
Guys, I'm often having to go into mute because I'm burping quite a bit. Just what I tell you, like, I'm very open with these kind of things, right? So if you do hear me, just sort of be professional and pretend it didn't happen. Like, don't all look at me and say like it's coming from Grizz. But I like this comment, and I'm going to come to you, Conrad. Recently, loving how Klopp is reacting quickly to substitutions. Burnley was a perfect move, and today both games, substitutions were perfectly timed and won us the games. I couldn't agree with that more, Conrad, because as Mick's touched upon, those three players completely changed the tempo of the game. Diaz was an absolute menace. We spoke about sort of Dumfries and the right centre back Skriniar.
Yeah.
But Luis Diaz, every time he got the ball, he just totally went directly at Skriniar and said, Mane's softened you up, Mane's tired you out, and now I'm coming to kill you. Henderson done the same with Brozovic. Keita done the same with, who was on the Hakan?
Yeah, Calhanoglu.
I thought everything that I expected from the first half midfield to do, the second set of midfielders, which are fucking not a bad bunch, right? So Hendo, suddenly we've got Hendo, Naby, and Thiago on the bench. How many teams around Europe would cry for a three in midfield like that? But I thought the circulation and rotation of the ball was perfectly timed, and the intensity of the press, because by then, by the 65th minute, I genuinely thought, and I said this in the pre-match show as well, that Inter are very big, heavy. You know what I mean when I say heavy? I don't mean overweight. I mean like sort of big, powerful team that you keep them working. They do tire, and they've lost a lot of goals recently in late sort of second halves. It was the perfect introduction to the subs, and they genuinely changed the tempo, didn't they?
Yeah, I actually think genuinely we have to, if you go back to that between the 45th minute and when the subs come on, I think we're under the cosh. Absolutely, the midfield's getting overrun constantly. There's not much control. Dumfries is a header, great ball in, just goes over the bar. It's a great header. I thought they really were building momentum so much in football. This was happening. Let's not get mixed up. This was happening. And then when you can afford to bring that depth on the park, and now Jurgen Klopp has said this is the best squad he's ever had. And I think that shows it, because you literally, that depth, the depth won us the game. We can talk about ifs, buts, and maybes, but personally, I think that's ending 0-0 if we don't do that. Right, you might get a lucky goal, but I feel like we would not take control like we did. Now I'm going to go down the Hendo bandwagon. I don't care. Probably not. It's no surprise. But Henderson comes on, and shout out to the commentator on BT Sport, Lucy Ward. She was fantastic tonight. So much
I'm backing
information.
you. I'm absolutely with you on that one. Absolutely, shout out to the commentator.
It was Fletcher and Lucy Ward. Fletcher's always good.
Brilliant.
To be fair.
She was so much better than Steve McManaman.
So informative.
Oh,
it was. I actually felt like you were learning as you're talking. Just the details, you could tell everything was, the attention to detail was superb for both teams. So shout out to her.
I'm actually going to tweet that, and it might get a few likes. I'm going to nick your
Lucy. Honestly, she was really honestly. I genuinely mean that, and because Grizz, how often do we get annoyed for people having great opportunities and not like educating us when we're watching the match? So shout out to Lucy Ward. But what she said was the one thing, she made a really good point, because a lot of Liverpool fans would be thinking this when Fabinho comes off. She goes, that's maybe the only one a bit questionable. Then Jordan Henderson goes on, and just the impact was superb, as well as Keita, but we just took over the game. And as we mentioned before, that experience, that big game experience, I felt like you could see that specifically with Henderson, but obviously Naby's got experience as well. And I felt like, it was brilliant. And then as soon as we won that, I felt like confident. We weren't cutting them open, but there was especially Diaz down the left. And I'm not going to talk about him too often, but it is kind of ridiculous how fit he is. Like, Robertson is going 100 miles an hour at the 65th minute. And I think his Skriniar's just like, what is happening here? You've got Diaz coming inside and you've got Robbo bombing on. I actually felt sorry for him by that point. I really did. But with those changes, absolutely. And could we maybe say that this is a statement as well? Because if you look at that, the depth probably won tonight because of that and got us a great result. And when have we said that in recent years? So, yeah, amazing.
It's absolutely, everyone. This is what it's all about. This is what we're working towards. This is what we've been working towards, behind the scenes. People talk about sort of squad depth and everything. But, it's funny, isn't it, how social media works? Like today, right, before kickoff, everyone was moaning about Curtis Jones not being in the squad. Like, what the fuck do you want? Like, you just can't win with certain sections of the fan base, can you? There's always has to be something to moan about. So we've got this.
But that's what I love about Klopp. That's what I love about Klopp. He's not asked. He's not trying to please. He's just trying to do what's best for the squad and what's best for the team. Like, he hears the noise, but he's very good at just blocking it all out. And I think that's what,
as all great people, as all great coaches are. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's what puts us at this level that we're at. And like, I'm probably going to lose half of the chat right now with this one, but yeah, I feel like we've seen the evolution through the eyes of, like, have you ever watched Dragon Ball Z as a kid and you got gassed when Goku went Super Saiyan for the first time? It was like literally seeing that when we won the Champions League. He brought that energy and you're thinking, oh my God, it can't get much better than that. But then as he's added to this squad and he's added the likes of the Thiagos and he's added, we lost it and then we got Fabinho, we had the Thiagos, we've had the Keitas, we've added the Diaz's now. I feel like we're kind of at like Super Saiyan 3. We've got the long blonde hair. We're absolutely killing it. And there's not much that can really stop us right now in terms of the monster and the machine that he's built from this Liverpool squad. So, and I've said this about Salah as well. I feel like he's in his final form from that perspective as well. The way he's kind of leveled up as the squad has got stronger and better. The fact that we've got riches in terms of options now. It means that we don't have to panic. We don't have
That's
to feel
the key
like
word. That's absolutely. I think you're spot on there. I'm so sorry. Steve Nichols going to be pissed off with me, but I had to butt in there. You know what? You're absolutely spot on though, because I needed to jump in because that's exactly what I was meaning. I wasn't panicking. Conroy and saying that some of you were saying that you might have been panicking or felt under pressure. I didn't. I honestly didn't. I thought we're going to weather this storm, and the final 25, 30 minutes, our substitutions will kill them. We're going to go again. And that's exactly how it panned out.
We don't have to win games in 20 minutes anymore because we're either going to run out of steam or we haven't got, Klopp turns over to his bench and thinks, what can I do? Who can I bring on to change it? We don't have to, there aren't those worries and concerns anymore. We literally can, as you just said, weather a storm and then collect ourselves. And I think we did. I think Trent as well, as much as I don't think he got as forward as he could have in the first half, he used his nous in that second half. Whenever he got the opportunity to get a set piece in that second half, he literally took the sting out of the game. He went, I'm going at my own pace. Fuck it. If it takes me 2 minutes to kick this corner, it's going to take me 2 minutes. I'm not arsed. Let's just regroup and get our heads again. And I think all those little subtleties that we've kind of just, again, the experience that he's got over the years, all those little things now just helping us just merge and mature into this kind of team that, like, when you used to watch the Reals in their pomp, and I'm going to say their pomp, it was only 4 or 5 seasons ago, but when they knew how to beat teams, they didn't have to beat you with ball playing skills. They just knew how to grind you out, take your will away from you, suck that soul out of you, everything you've done. And in terms of that first goal, for me, I'll go back to your boxing reference, Grizz. It was like, boxing, it was kind of like we'd both been missing with headshots for a while in the game. We hadn't really hit the target and we was missing with those headshots. And Liverpool just came in with one of those hefty kidney blows that it just leaves you with a standing count because it takes all the wind out your sails. You're there on your knee. You're waiting for the ref to stand you back up. But after you've just been hit with that body shot, you've got nothing left in the tank. And that's what Inter was like after we got that first goal.
That's exactly it. Again, you said taking their soul away, and Mick, that's exactly how it felt. You could see it. They were absolutely finished and destroyed. There was no coming back from them. Bobby Firmino, away from home. What is it? Does he like the songs that the away crowd sing for him, and he wants to hear that? He's fucking sensational away from home. His goal scoring record away from home is actually beautiful, and it's actually a very, very good header, isn't it? In swinging corner from Robertson. Is it Robertson?
Yeah.
In swinging Robertson, and then a deft header. How do you want to describe that, Mick? Whatever you have, you describe how you want to describe it.
Yeah, I thought it's literally perfect. He couldn't have made a better connection, and the angle from behind the goal, like, their keeper's massive, and he's still. I mean, he wasn't far away from it, but the placement on it, and the pace from the ball from Robbo, kind of just went, get your head on this. And I think that's why we're top of the most goals from set pieces in the Premier League. Anyway, I'm not sure about the Champions League, and I think there's still scope for us to get better from there, because there's quite a few times where we hit first men, or it floats over everyone, goes out for a fucking throw in. You're like, come on, but then it's, like I said earlier, it's the levels that we've set that any deviation from that, you kind of go, come on, lads, we're better than this, but we can still do it. We're still quality from those set pieces. And Robbo with that wing swinger, the header from Bobby was quality. And like Errol said, just summed it up perfectly. That was like the moment where I kind of made a little sigh of relief, I suppose. I was like, right, I feel a lot better now. They're gonna, and you could see, I think from the angle beyond the goal where it goes in, you could see all their lads, all their heads drop straight away. They were like, we've threw everything at these here, and these fuckers, we just can't score, and we can't keep them out. And then the fact that we did get that goal, I think was up 75 minutes, was it? That goal goes in. So it's only 15 minutes left. And I think from 45 to 60. They threw literally the kitchen sink at us, and like you touched on earlier about Virgil van Dijk, who doesn't really get a chance to defend like that, because we're usually so much in control in games. I think he fucking loved it. He was like, right, a good throwback to my Southampton days, my Celtic days. I'll just throw my head onto everything and defend like a proper defender, and he's more than capable of doing that. And I think we weathered that storm, and then we get that goal. 15 minutes left. I think, Errol said wind out the sails. They were fucked, and yeah, I was just made up that we got it because we deserved it. Maybe not from the 45 to 60, but from the first 45 where we had a good few chances to score. I think we did deserve that. So just made up we got it.
Yeah, Conroy, we often talk about set pieces are so crucial in big games, tight games. Set pieces are the key, and how many times have we discussed it? And you're right. Mick, you're right that we have got the best record. We spoke about it on the pre-match in terms of both teams actually being exceptional at set pieces. Like their only threat, apart from a couple of counters a couple of phases of play where they built up through the four wing backs, generally their hope was to get us on set pieces, and obviously if they've got 4 or 5 massive, huge units. But it's amazing, isn't it? We've got 2 fullbacks that take our set pieces. I mean, I think that's crazy if you think about teams around Europe. Like, I'm not sure if there's many teams that their fullbacks take all their set pieces, like Trent and Robertson. I don't know. Someone in the chat may educate me, but it's a unique feeling to have that where your fullbacks are your
maybe Cancelo probably takes a few for City now and again, but yeah, the majority, you're not going to find a Scotsman taking at the San Siro taking the corners. That's quite unusual, to be honest, especially for a giant, a European giant at Liverpool. So that is quite rare. But what I would add, Grizz, we spoke about this after the Burnley match. That's 3 in a row now. So that was the Leicester, Jota's goal to open the scoring comes from a set piece. Burnley, the flick on from Mane to Fabinho set piece, and tonight it's invaluable through all the. If we're going to win a quadruple, let's go crazy. If we're going to do that, we need set pieces because the only thing guaranteed in football is you're not going to play well every game. Factual. That's not going to happen. You're in dreamland if you think that. And we literally have the best centre back. He is the best centre back in the world, possibly ever in the Premier League. But we're not going to get in that debate right now. And he is great with his head. I still think we underutilise that as much as we should. We seem to be getting a good rhythm right now. We had horrendous set pieces for about a month there. We scored 0. Robbo seems to be getting good with them. Trent's getting good with them again. Shimikas is a good asset as well when he comes on. The Mane chance in the first half from Robbo's free kick as well. That's good to see because usually, to be fair, Trent's usually better from outside the box set pieces, and Robbo's corners or crosses are usually quite good. So that's good to see as well. But overall, it's invaluable to have set pieces. That's not changed for the past 20 years of the Premier League. That can save you in games. And I'm so happy that again tonight. Can I just add though, Chris? I don't think we're talking about this header enough. This is a needle in a haystack header. There's literally only one space that goes in. Handanovic is he's probably a great goalkeeper, and he does nothing wrong. That header is honestly, that's perfection. Like, he could do that probably 100 times and not find that corner again. That was, or maybe he could. Maybe be unfair to Firmino, but it was like I just think the keeper does everything right, and that's when you know it's. I couldn't believe he scored it. I thought it took a deflection. It was that good a header, unbelievable and crucial. So yeah, but yeah, on the set pieces, Chris, it's massive for us in the next couple of months as well. So I'm so happy we're kind of getting the swing of it again.
Klopp alluded to sort of in the post-match in terms of how we absolutely worked on our set pieces, and that was a routine that was worked on. It's always amazing, hey, like, you know, as Hannibal says, I love when a plan comes together. I'm sure it was Hannibal who said that.
Yeah.
Hannibal said that, right?
A-team. Hannibal, yeah.
Yeah, I was shitting myself. I thought maybe fucking someone else said it, but yeah, it was Hannibal. Love when a plan comes together, yeah, and then he smokes a cigar. Yeah, because that was brilliant. That was beautiful poetry. You know, I love a good set piece goal. I love a hard-fought win, a scrappy win. And Errol, as you said, they were done by then. And then it was a matter of, let's really wrap up the tie. There was a chance where if Naby plays a little bit, lovely move through the midfield. If he plays into Diaz, possibly Diaz gets his goal, which would have been deserved for that little cameo he fucking put on again. I mean, he was a live wire when he came on. It's beautiful to see. I had a massive grin on as soon as Diaz came on. Like that 20 minutes or whatever it was beautiful to see. The second goal, look, I think it's a tie killer. I hope this doesn't get clipped up and we come back to haunt us, but I think that's a tie killer. Again, another set piece. Virgil van Dijk commanding in both fucking areas, both penalty areas, pushes Diaz out of the way and says, you might be the newcomer. Shut up. I've got this. I know. I've got this. I'm going to lay it back to Salah. Salah's shot, does it take a deflection, guys?
Yes.
2-0,
Yes.
game over.
Yes.
But the point being, Salah again tells Konate to move out the way. You may be man of the match today, but I'm Mo Salah. So both big dogs, Virgil to Mo, to the young pretenders, says, get out the way, guys. We've got this. Game over. Tie over.
Yeah, absolutely. And given the fact that UEFA have decided to scrap the away goal in Champions Leagues, you need 2-0 now. Do you know what I mean? Now, that whole 1-0 away was a good result a season ago, 2 seasons ago, days gone by. But now you need that 2 goal. And I think you need that 2 goal because teams will want to come to Anfield second leg and they will want to stay in the game. For the longer they can stay in the game in Anfield, the longer they can stay in the tie still, which means that they will always pose a threat to us and we're not going to change our style. So therefore, they will have opportunities to pick us off and they will have to pick their chances as to when they counter us. The fact that we've now got that 2 goal means, right, incentives reduced. We're not going to change our style, but we can be more reactive. We'll let yous come on to us a little bit and we'll pick yous off. We'll be quick in the transition. So that second goal gives us that advantage to basically play our game with full confidence, that we can play with more high risk, high reward, because we know that they are going to leave themselves more open and give us more space to play into, because they are going to be desperate to try and get something out of the game. They can't have the luxury of going 60 to 70 minutes, 2-0 down at Anfield and need 2 goals to get to extra time or 3 goals to wrap up the tie. So I think that leaves us in a beautiful position. As you said, it could be a tie killer for that reason. I think, Naby has that one opportunity and and maybe it's just because it's not on his favourite side. He doesn't take on the shot and he tries to cut it back across. I think, again, it's because everybody... I noticed how often everyone was trying to free up the ball to Diaz today. And I think that's because they've all got an appreciation for what he can do anyway at this moment in time, but they all think you're the unknown quantity. You could be the guy that could hurt this team. And when you get the ball, you can be the driving force. At the moment, and I know it probably sounds a little bit harsh on Mane, but maybe it's because I've seen Mane for the best half of 5 years now. I know what Mane's going to do when Mane gets the ball before he does it. But this Diaz reminds me of when
unknown element.
Yeah, well, the unknown element, but he reminds me of how Sadio Mane first moved with the ball when he got to Liverpool.
Spot on.
Like, that movement was so reminiscent of the original Mane when he landed to us. It was really raw, but it was really direct. It was really confident. It was, I am literally going to commit every defender every single time that's trying to stand me up. I'm going to run past them. And I just think the more he grows in confidence, the goals will come. We don't have to panic. We're not in a position now where we're like, we need you to come in and score 10 goals in the next, 5 games, lad, because we're running out of options up top. No, just come in and play your game. Get confident. Get that link up with Robbo down that left-hand side. Start to feel your way into these games. He took on a shot that he didn't even really need to take on, but that's, again, his confidence to just say, I'll have a go. I'll have a dig. And I like that about where we're at now. And again, it comes back to that progression. It comes back to the level that we're sitting at the moment. But it just leaves, and it should just leave all the fans in a confident space that we don't need to panic. We've got a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, right the way through it right now. And Klopp knows what tools he needs to use and when he needs to bring them on. And as you say, when you've got 70 minutes run down on the clock and you're bringing on the likes of a Diaz against lads that are aging into the 30s, they're looking up thinking, Gaffer, call it a day because I'm absolutely used. And that's the kind of energy we want, because our fans feed into it, and I think all of our players did. I think the one thing I will note is credit again to Inter, because when we scored that first goal, not everybody was quick to react and run over to Bobby and celebrate with him. And I think it just shows how much energy we had spent up until that point to get that goal. We was just genuinely relieved, but it was a straight away switch of momentum. We're going to regain control, and then we went back and we kept hammering the point home after that point. And I think that's when the real quality started to show through.
I love that in us at the moment, Mick. The fact that we didn't just rest on our laurels and sort of just kill the game. We actually tried to sort of keep, as Conrad said, Robertson was overlapping like a mad fucker still, and I was thinking, where are you going? Relax. But that's the beauty. And Jurgen Klopp We didn't see Jurgen Klopp waving him back like what you're doing. Jurgen Klopp was like clapping. Carry on, fucking carry on. Who gives a shit? Go and smash them to bits. I love this about our team. And Mo gets his customary goal, and as Pep the Fraud says, Mo 4 away from Champions League all-time English scorer. Magnificent. We just hear about a new record or a...
What does that mean then? So does that mean it's 4 from like playing in an English team? Is it breaking Gerrard's record? No, because he's level with Gerrard, isn't he, on Champions League goals? Pep
the Fraud, could you just send in a normal message and explain that for the benefit of Conroy and for me? But I pretended I understood. Go on, Eru, you got an explanation?
No, and me as well. Like,
yeah, me. Yeah.
Okay.
No, he is 100% right. I heard it during the game. I just can't remember exactly what the stat is. So just wanted to really know, to be honest.
So keep an eye on that. He probably will explain it. Neil H sending a super chat says Diego Jota injured, Mo, Diaz, Mane with Bobby behind. People are just we're excited about our strike force, and why not, guys? As we stayed in the game, we stayed
goals. They all bring different goals, bro. That's they're not all in the same mold. They all bring different goals to the team. As Conway was saying before, when you've got working on no set pieces, you don't know which one it's going to land to, but they will all take it in their own way, and they're all a lethal threat as a result of it. And I think when you've got that kind of combination, bro, it's curtains for a lot of teams this season.
Right, I think we've got a few explanations. So the leading scorer for English team. And then there's another one, most goals scored for an English club in the Champions League. Anyone?
Yeah,
that's too late in the day for us.
That's what it would be. I think the record's like 36, Eunice is saying. So it'll be like any nationality player playing for an English team in the Champions League. So, for example, I'd imagine I don't know who's top, but let's just say, I don't know, like Drogba, for example. Ronaldo for United, of course, maybe something like that. Having said that, I only scored like 100 goals for United.
Drogba, Chelsea.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know the exact one, but it'll be someone like that. So yeah, Mo will probably smash that record as well. But tonight, I think, is one of the more fortunate goals. As I say, it was going straight to the keeper, but you'll take it.
But absolutely, Mick, we don't give a shit how they go in as long as they go in. And 2-0, I genuinely think there's a chance that they may not go full strength in the second leg, Inter, because they're in a lot of competitions. They're going for the league title again. They're absolutely desperate for that Serie A title. 2-0 going to Anfield is probably a mission impossible. Again, I'm setting this up, but there's no fucking setting this up. We've killed the tie, right? Or is it? Can someone tell me? Remind me. You guys might know. Are we playing them in the week building up to the League Cup? No, we're not, because the League Cup final is next weekend.
It's before, yeah.
Right.
So I think it's the 9th. I think it's the 9th and the 10th that the games are played over for us anyway.
So we play Leeds before we play the Cup final, right? This coming.
Norwich Leeds, then Cup final, I think,
and then Inter.
Yeah.
I mean, how does this set us up for the? Maybe I'm looking too far ahead, but 2-0 is a very magnificent result away from home. Still focus on it though. Still play a very strong. Whatever team we put out is going to be strong, right? But you know what I mean. The tie is surely over, right, Mick? Let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah, I mean,
word of caution. Okay, word of caution gone.
You'd like to think so, but I mean, we know Klopp won't be thinking like that, because we did see tonight in fits and starts that this Inter side are good, but then, like you said, they've got other things that they're in the hunt for. They want to go and win the Italian title, so it's whether they look at it. But I mean, they'll want to come, and I think, like Errol said before, they're going to come out and see if they can try and get one early doors and see if they can throw a cat amongst the pigeons. So. And we've just got to kind of ride that and see what happens. But I think when they do that, that's going to play into our hands completely. And I think that's why I am quite confident now that we've got that second one. If it was 1-0 going to Anfield, I'd be like, right, we need to be a bit more pragmatic in our approach maybe. But 2-0, you like to think we've got enough there to get through that one. But I'm just looking at the fixtures now, just so I can let you know. We've got Norwich, then Leeds, then Chelsea League Cup, then Norwich FA Cup, then West Ham, then it's Inter, which is on
On
the
the
8th,
8th of March.
8th of March.
Okay. So fair while away right now. Okay, we've got a fair few games.
A lot of
Got
home
like
games.
seven home
lot of
games.
home games.
Seven home games. Yeah. Out of the next
Shout out
8.
to one of the comments. They said that earlier. Yeah, 7 home games. That's unbelievable.
How that's worked out, eh? Interesting. A lot of conspiracy theories from opposition fans
Just
about to go
rescheduling,
viral.
isn't it, with COVID and stuff?
Of course. LFC Aaron says, "Evening, guys. Hope the Jota injury isn't too bad. We're all hoping that, my friend. We're hoping that we've. It was too good to be true, right, people? All this full squad and everyone firing and everything. I just hope. But yeah, look, magnificent away win. Conroy, anything in terms of man of the match? Because yeah, go on. I'll let you.
Yeah, for me, I think, to be fair, Errol summed it up. Like, each to their own. I think for me, there's only one man of the match. I think my honourable mention, you've got to say Jordan Henderson. Quieted a lot of people tonight. This is society now. It's like literally people just like have stuff saved in drafts and just tweet it. Henderson will have a bad game in a week, and the same thing you'll see. Sometimes it's good to just maybe uninstall that app for a few hours, guys. I found that helps a lot. But yeah, shout out to Henderson. Showed his experience. Showed when he came on tonight. Kept it simple, as we'd mentioned, Grizz. I think he kept it simple tonight. Played good. Played the passes. That kind of switch to Trent was on. He was just doing that really, really good. And it reminded me as well how good he can actually play in the 6 when he's covered for Fabinho in the past.
Just going to come to that.
Yeah. So honourable mention. I have got a real Errol and Mick because some of the other guys in the gang like to give man of the matches for 20-minute performances. I don't. We had that with Harvey Elliott a couple of weeks ago. I thought it was ridiculous, so I'm not going to do that. Stick by my principles. It can only be Virgil van Dijk. I think he's simmering recently. He's actually been brilliant, but we've kind of kept it quiet, not outspoken as much. I think tonight, just wow. Like, honestly, I think he's actually... It's easy for me to sound like I'm just completely got the red tainted goggles on when I'm talking, red tainted glasses when I'm talking about Virgil van Dijk. It's just the way he defends. Like, you know how you talk about old school defending he's doing tonight? He doesn't usually do that because he's a step ahead. Like, he's trying to, that's what he's great at as well. He doesn't want to go to the floor because he's already made a mistake if that's the case. He's just unbelievable. And I felt like tonight there was spells where we absolutely needed him. Konate was brilliant. I'm not disputing that. But for me, Virgil gets the nod tonight. I thought he was outstanding.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna ask Mick and Errol just in case they say anyone else and spoil the whole sort of flow of it. Yes, I'm not even gonna ask them. But what I will ask, and people are saying we should discuss this, and I was actually meaning to discuss this. We've touched upon Henderson, Errol, and we've touched upon sort of the form he's shown in this new role that he's insisted on playing. Actually, we know that, don't we? That he went to Jurgen Klopp and said, "Look, I'm actually very good as an attacking 8, box to box," And do you remember the game against Southampton where he pops up with a couple of seasons ago when he scores that goal and the emotion, everything? I'm with none of your business here. I'm used to none of your business now. I read out his name so brilliantly. None of your business says, I prefer Hendo in the 6th role now as backup to Fabinho. My personal opinion, Errol, is I think it suits Henderson far more, especially the maturity and the experience he's gained over the years of playing in a few positions. And just like Gerrard settled into that sort of... Gerrard obviously had a different role in terms of he was more of a quarterback. Henderson's not quite the quarterback, but he can still circulate the ball very well, in my opinion, especially in certain games. We don't have an able deputy for Fabinho. People say, I say different. I say Henderson is a very able deputy for Fabinho.
I agree to a point. I think for me, I want him to play in all the big games, because I think he is that intensity. He brings that pride on. And I know you think you can't really quantify that and you can't really measure it, but you can see the difference in the drop-off in that intent if he's not driving the whole unit forward sometimes. I think if he was to be restricted to the deputy, does he get enough game time for me would be my only question mark to fully fulfill his potential in that role. Can he do it? Has he got the ability to do it? Yeah, I agree. but I wouldn't want to pigeonhole him in that and say you're only going to get minutes in on the pitch as and when we're bringing Fabinho to give him a rest or games that he's not playing. I still think he does have a job as that 8. Maybe, and I don't know if it's something that Klopp would ever really look to do because of how we set up our midfield. Maybe a double pivot might be a way forward for the likes of Henderson and Fabinho to both kind of mix up that role where they split that responsibility and they kind of both play half 6, half 8 between them, but having that kind of cohesion to both understand through and through what's required of them both. I'm not 100 because Fabinho's been chipping in with goals as well, which Henderson hasn't, and he's been playing a deeper role. So it's not to say that's beyond the realms of possibility, but I still think he brings so much. Until we've got a midfielder in his prime that can do the whole box to box, that can be robust, that can drive with that intensity, that's got that gnaw, that can crunch into tackles, he's got the mouth. Until we've got another one like that, I wouldn't want to segue Jordan into another role on a semi-permanent basis, is my only thought where my head's at personally.
I tend to agree with everything you've said there, and I get what you're saying. I'm at the stage.
Definitely can't play a double pivot and I get that. With our current system, I don't know if that does work. But again, it's what kind of concessions do you make to get the best out of both Henderson and Fabinho and utilize both of their assets at any one given time.
As I said, my sentiments towards Hendo, I share with you absolutely, and the disrespect that's been shown to him over the last week or so is disgraceful. It's embarrassing almost. Like as Conroy says, people have had tweets in their drafts for years to bring it out. Do you know what I mean? Pathetic, petty, point scoring.
It's borderline AFTV.
Absolutely is. Errol, absolutely is. I said it today. There's certain platforms that have been waiting for this, and whatever. I don't want to even give a shout out to the platforms that have been doing this.
What worked out perfectly though, Grizz. If you think about it, the way the game worked out, that for Henderson, that probably did.
Where
he's earned it though. Like I think he's earned it. Sorry to cut you. I think he's earned that we should trust in Klopp and trust in him. Like I think he gets pissed off at the fact that it only takes 2 bad games for everybody to all of a sudden be Hendo out. Like, what the fuck's that about? Have you not seen the fact that I've lifted the Champions League for you? Like, do I not, as Jordan fucking Brian Henderson, have credit in the Liverpool vault? Yes or no? And I think with the fan base, I don't want to say real fans or not real fans, but I think people that get it and are fans of the club and are fans of all of this team know that he's got plenty of credit in
supporters. I've always argued about this. There's a difference between supporters and fans, but that's a whole fucking show in itself. Where I will slightly, and this could come controversial, and attack me in the chat if you feel, and attack me as a panel if you feel, Mick, where I slightly not disagree but have this opinion about Henderson is where Errol was concerned with how do we keep Henderson happy in terms of giving him enough minutes. I'm not overly bothered about that, Mick. I just want him to be performing at the best of his ability, maximum optimum fitness, like he was today. You could fucking see the moment he was dying to get on that pitch. And I think I want to look beyond that, the sentimental side of things, like how are we going to keep him happy? Because I feel in the past we've done that with Lallana and Lovren and Sturridge and you know, all great players in their rights. But I get that Jordan Henderson is a different level to them because he's a fucking legend, because of the captaincy and because everything he's brought to the table. But I want a slight ruthlessness from Klopp, not to be worried about that. Just say, look, you are where you are coming. You've had a lot of injuries. You've got fucking mileage in your leg. You've been an absolute legend, but you will play 15, 20 games a season. And I want you the best Jordan Henderson you can give me for those 15, 20 minutes. Do you know what I mean? Or, you know, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I think what Klopp would usually do, I think I do agree that he would tend to favour maybe his favourites when he hasn't got the options. But the fact that we're talking about this and even having this discussion, proves that we've got the options, and we've got a lot of fucking options now. Javier, we've got Naby Keita, we've got Thiago. There's a lot. There's, like Errol said, there's a double pivot. There's loads of players. There's a load of options. There's a load of formations. We could we tweak it and play the fullbacks slightly different. There's so many different options, and I think that's why I do think Klopp will be a little bit more ruthless. And I think even tonight, I know Hendo got a bit of a knock, but he didn't start tonight. He didn't start in a game against Inter Milan away from home in a really, really big game. And Klopp would have knew that conversation would have been a difficult one, because Hendo wants to start. He's our captain, he's our talisman, and has been for a long time. And he's grew into that role and proved the doubters that were there originally, he proved them all wrong. And it is annoying when they do crawl back out of the woodwork and they've got those tweets ready, and you're like, fucking hell, like, has he got no, like, if you got no credibility in you as a fan to kind of go, it's this. If you say something bad about Hendo, you go, yeah, he didn't play well tonight. Someone will always then say, you can say he's been shit, you know, it's not a problem. You can say he's been shit. It's like, I know, I'm saying he was shit. But I'm not saying it in the way that you're saying it, because you're saying he's shit. I want him gone. I'm saying he's been shit. Harvey Elliott can come in and do a job. Naby Keita can come in and do a job. Thiago can come in and do a job. And it's these options that we now got where Klopp's not going to have a problem talking to Jordan Henderson and say, you're not going to play this one, because we've got the options that are best fitted for the opposition. And I think that's what it boils down to. More options means Klopp's got more. He's got more. I can't think of the word. He's got luxury. in terms of telling players that they're not going to play. You can go, well, look at all these players that are lined up on the bench, ready to play. And I think that's why he will be a bit more ruthless. And I think we want him to be, because we don't want players staying around past the sell-by date. I think great managers that have gone by have always been good at not getting rid of players. Like, I'm not saying we're getting rid of Jordan Henderson.
No,
but you know
I know
exactly
what you mean.
Maybe phasing players out slightly in terms of playing 50 games to playing 35 games.
Yeah.
That gradual process. Because I think,
Conor, we've discussed, haven't we? We've discussed it. Sorry, Mick, we've discussed it, haven't we? Like, who was the best example of that in sort of, well, it doesn't seem recent anymore, but fairly recent. You know, Alex Ferguson. You know, magnificent players that sort of he had good relationships by all accounts with, but yet he knew exactly when to, as Mick said. In fact, some he just booted out, didn't he? But most of them he just kind of phased out. Yeah. And there's absolutely, as Mick says, there should be no awkwardness. There should be no sensitivity about saying Jordan Henderson hasn't had a good game. So what? Who gives a fuck? Yeah, he hasn't had a good game. Yeah. We all have bad days. We don't have good games. But to say as soon as he's had a good game, that's the end of his Liverpool career. He can't come back from this. Naby should be. Well, it's nonsensical in real life.
Absolutely. And tonight, again, perfect metaphor for it. Everyone's like, if you follow Twitter this week, Jordan Henderson getting a flight, mate, that's you leaving the club. Harvey Elliott, 18-year-old, you can start the next 30 games. Football doesn't work like that. It's a prime example tonight of why experience in different stages of the career is important to having a squad. I would also argue, guys, I sometimes think I agree with everything we're saying. I do think we're underestimating how it goes in a season, right? Because if it was a case of just having 11 players, every team would do it. But you know what it's like? Someone gets injured, someone misses that game. If we're competing on all fronts, there's going to be lots of games. And to have a midfielder who I still think, to be honest, can play at 8 as well, and a 6, that's great. That's going to double his chances of getting games in certain matches anyway and being there available. The only thing I would say is me and Evan on the channel, shout out to Soccer God, we've been discussing this, and Grizz as well with Keith and Redfellas, that all season we've been speaking about this kind of the 8s, the way they're transitioning, the way the positions is now, and if it's because he's declining is the issue, or is it because of the way we're playing with our 2 8s that we're getting caught in the transition, and that's maybe more a tactical thing. Like, I think he's definitely had a poor run of it lately, and that tactic's not helped. We'll talk about that more another day. However, I do feel like there's still a longer sample size to view where actually Henderson's at, I think anyway. And I think even the end of the season, starting next season, there's lots of games. Like, literally, we signed Thiago and said, well, that's it. You know, Wijnaldum's out the team. And Thiago got injured 3 times. So stuff happens. It's football. And another example, and people don't like to go on about City, but look at like people like Fernandinho, how he's been used as well. Now, Fernandinho's one of the best DMs ever played in the Premier League. However, there's ways of using him. Vincent Kompany is another one. They don't just scatter, just leave him out of team. You use that captaincy, that leadership in the squad, and it's important. And there's ways to do it, like you said, Mick. So, yeah, it's literally, you're allowed to criticise. It doesn't mean you want them out the door, but this is, unfortunately, this is the way it is now. It's one side or the other. There's no in between.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no in between. It's one way or the other. But listen, we move, we carry on, we continue to sort of move on to another competition, league on the weekend, and then the League Cup final on the other week, the following weekend. Wow, this could be something special, guys. We've got to just hope and pray that the injuries to Ox and Jota are nothing serious. Hopefully. That's a bit of a dampener of the night, but overall, we're chuffed to bits with the result. It's been a fantastic chat, guys. Errol, Mick, again, thank you so much for joining us, people, man.
Been a pleasure, mate. Thank you for having us.
No worries.
Absolutely. Obviously, instant match reaction sometimes can have our minds scrambled, but I thought we digested all the game and analysed it sort of as calmly as we could. But it's brilliant. It's being a Liverpool fan right now, Conroy. It's the juggernaut that we are. We just move on. We keep moving. We keep going. It's a good time, right?
Can't believe we're in a League Cup final. That's the most surprising thing, to be honest. Like, genuinely, domestic cup final, I'm still in shock, to be perfect. I can't believe we're going to Wembley. I'm in shock. So, yeah.
It is domestic final to look forward to. Norwich, as Mick's reminded us, I completely forgot about the FA Cup.
Yeah. Which, again, if we get through that, and then what's the quarterfinals?
Is it the quarterfinals?
Yep.
So tasty, man.
And
we could be in 2 quarterfinals and League Cup champions in a few weeks. But listen,
Grizz, that game, right? Can I ask you a question quick? Because I know we're finishing up, and ask everyone, guys. Sorry, just quickly, we're going to do pre-match on the Chelsea game, but I don't know if I'm thinking differently towards this. I've heard some people say, the type of squad and it's League Cup final. For me, my head just sees Chelsea in a final for a trophy, and that's it. In my head, this could be the Champions League final. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. In my head, it's a beautiful pitch at Wembley, massive pitch, full stadium against a team that's a massive rival to win a cup. So in my head, I'm thinking absolutely full strength. Do you guys agree?
I'll leave it to these two guys. You know what I think? I think wherever we see Chelsea, smash them to fucking bits. I don't give a shit if it's the Auto Glass Trophy or the Dagenham and Redbridge League.
I don't give a shit.
Yeah, whatever it is. But yeah, sorry, you two.
This is the dress rehearsal for all the other finals this season. That's all I'm going to say.
Mick?
Yeah, completely. Like you guys have just said, it's Chelsea. We don't want them to beat us, and I think there's a bit of I think there's a 4-day gap after Leeds. I think there's another couple of days gap after it before the other Norwich game. So yeah, obviously, like Conroy said, any other injuries bar, and hopefully the Ox and the Jota ones are fine and they're back ready to go, because we're going to need both of them. But yeah, it's Chelsea and it's the final, and like Errol said, it's this could be like a little mini catalyst to go, right, we've just gone and won that one. Let's go and do it another 2 or more.
I'm buzzing
times.
for it now, guys. I'm excited for it. You got me all excited.
Mate, I tell you, the build up. I told you, innit? Do you remember we done a show? people of the channel will know. Me and Avi done a show 2 a.m. in the morning on the night of the Chelsea game. Like 2 a.m. I couldn't sleep, and I people were like, "What the fuck? Why are you going live at 2 a.m.?" I said, "I can't sleep before a Chelsea game, lads. I can't sleep because you got to remember, based in London, I'm surrounded by plastics everywhere. Yeah. I grew up, my college, my university days were fucking just ruined by Chelsea fans popping up left, right, and center around me, telling us how great their club is, and we've got this money now, and we're so there's an element of me that hates them more than Man United. Now I know as a Liverpool fan, that is blasphemy almost. Like they are number one. Right? No, but you get where I'm coming from.
No, I'm like that with Man United. Like I can't sleep before a Man United game, but I hear you guys. It's different where you're based. Absolutely.
No, Man United still Man United, right? But these fuckers are close. They're bordering on sort of that level for me as a Liverpool fan in London. So, but I don't know if you guys would get that because,
I get it.
You know what I mean? Like growing up.
The ex's ugly sister. You hate them just as much.
There's been a lot of things that have happened as well. It's not just one thing. This is the thing. There's been lots of stuff.
And there's not many opportunities where you get to, when you beat Chelsea, you get to lift the trophy after
trophy as a result.
So like that's the extra little punch in there as well.
Put in their faces.
And we'll take the trophy as well. Yeah.
But the reverse of that, the reverse of that is there's no shows, nothing if we lose.
Oh, listen, we're not on. We're not on. We'll just put Keith on. Grizz, and Keith can just chat, answer wrestling questions.
We'll do drafts. No, actually, we'll do drafts fucking all week and just pretend there was no football. There's nothing happened. There's no football played. But guys, we must wrap up. It's been a brilliant show. Thank you for the chat, for absolutely filling us with some brilliant questions and points to talk about, which is all part and parcel of it. It's not about just us pretending we're Knowles. We're just absolutely fans like you lot, and the way you lot interact with us is brilliant. I'm actually humbled by it, and I'm sure the others guys are. In no way, shape, or form do we think if we've come across as real supporters or better supporters, that's bollocks. We're absolutely the same as you guys. We've just been blessed with the platform, and we love sharing it with you. And you guys are absolutely part and parcel of it. Conroy, I accused you of messing up the banner incorrectly, so I'd like to apologize. Avi's disappeared from the background.
Of course he has.
Therefore, of course he has. So I'll leave it to Conroy with the outro. Thank you very much for joining Grizz Khan TV for the post-match to the Champions League last 16 tie. Over and out. Take care.